y'all, Sean here, back again with another edition of Game On Cards and Collectibles. Today I have a order back from SGC. Let's dive right in and check out how the grades turned out. Hopefully by now you've been able to watch the pre-grade video so you know what I sent in. This should be a combination of multi-sport. Some crack out and regrades I think are in here as well. Hopefully I'm looking for, and I think I've got a couple vintage cards in here as well. So hopefully grades turned out well on these, or at least what I expected. But that's the fun of it. You never really know. All right, on the top here, we've got the Kevin Costner Field of Dreams promo card. I think that one I might leave for last. Hope everyone's doing all right out there. Appreciate you spending some time with me today. Now with SGC, you get your cards back pretty quick. They have a flat rate of $15, which is nice. Very convenient for the grading fee. Pretty straightforward. And also you get the cards back really quick. So with SGC, you send them in, you got a nice straightforward service fee, and also you get the cards back in about 2 weeks. It's in their offers for about a week, and then it takes 3 or 4 days each way. So you get your cards back in a couple weeks rather than a couple months, like you do with most of the other services out there. So, all right, let's check out how these did. Now we have up here first the 1994 Ken Griffey Jr. Super Nintendo video game card that came with the video game. This card, I believe I sent this in to PSA and they gave me a min standard. In other words, it did not meet their size requirement for grading. Said that the size of the card did not meet the minimum standards to slab. Maybe it was cut slightly smaller. That's usually the case in those particular instances. But for here, looks like it's gotten slabbed up. So I believe my pre-grade on this was a mint 9, if I remember correctly. But I'll throw up the pre-grades here on the screen as well. And it came back an 8.5. Okay, not too far off from what I expected. These in a high grade actually go for quite a bit. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. is an iconic player. He's a legend in baseball. And then the fact that this came out of a Super Nintendo video game kind of has that nostalgia and that, cultural significance, pop culture. So, yeah, I think there's a little bit of whiting here on the edge, which may have caused it to get a little bit lower grade, but 8.5 is how that one turned out. All right, now this is the Grigor Dimitrov 2022 Leaf Auto Printing Plate 1 of 1 that I recently picked up. I've got the one of the regular cards here as well. I was going to send this in, but it just had too many issues. It's really nice looking, but it's a real thick card. And the black edging, there's a couple corner issues. But this is a super sharp card, and this is basically the printing plate that created that card. So I asked it to be authenticated only, so it should just come back authentic. Yep. There we are. Black printing plate 101. My man Grigor. Very nice. All right. Put that back here. Yeah, just no need to get a grade on that because it's not going to come back very high. It's a 101, so grades, in my opinion, are pretty insignificant. Just a cool to have that card slabbed up and presented well in a nice SGC tuxedo slab. All right, next up is the Nico Horner. This is the 2020. I think this is the 5-star auto. Yeah, his rookie year. Thicker card. I had some concerns with the. Naturally you have concerns about thicker cards, condition wise, with just more surface area for the edges and the corners to get dinged. But I thought this one looked pretty sharp. I believe my pre-grade was either a 9 or a 9.5. Okay, comes back a 9 and 10 on the auto. So with another thing with SGC is if you're not already aware, they will grade the auto. If there's an auto on the card, they'll include that with the grade as long as it is a perfect 10, basically. If it's smeared or if it runs off the card, anything like that, they just won't grade the auto. But in this case, it's a real sharp looking auto there. And it comes back a 9, which is, I think, pretty much what I expected on that one. All right, next up, this is the Rose Namajunas 2018 UFC Museum Collection. It's a thicker card. It's a relic card. It's from the mat of UFC 217 when she defeated Joanna Jędrzejczyk for the UFC title in the strawweight division. This is a really cool card, and I thought it looked really well, even though it's a thicker card. The corners were pretty good. I think I want to say I gave it a pre-grade of a 9, and it came back a 9. Excellent. Yep, and it's a refractor number to 75, so very cool. Glad to have that one in the collection, and these cards look really nice in that tuxedo slab. Not necessarily everything presents well in the tuxedo, but I do think these do, and that's why I sent it in to SGC. All right, now the Traveling Man. All right, so this Ken Griffey Jr.'s got a story. I think I mentioned it in the pre-grade, so I'll keep it to a minimum, but basically this card has gone from CCCG9, you can see there. This card went from BCCG9. I sent it in as a slabbed BCCG9, and I sent it to PSA and told them I wanted to get a min grade of a 9, even though it was already a 9. They said, no, it's not going to meet the min grade, so they sent it back to me, still in the encased slab of the BCCG. I then cracked it and sent it to Tag, and then they said, no, it doesn't meet the card dimensions, the size restriction, so they couldn't slab it, and they sent it back to me. And now I sent it to SGC, and sure enough, they thought it did meet their minimum requirements anyway to slab. So I thought it was in pretty good shape. I thought it was well centered, corners, edges, everything looked pretty sharp. So I gave it I still thought it was good enough to have a mint 9. And it comes back an 8. So all that traveling around ended up right pretty much back where we were. So typically when you see a card in the old Beckett Collector Club grade, you don't see these much anymore. But these are known in the hobby to have about a 1, maybe even a 2 grade lower than what they graded at the BCCG grade. So just keep that in mind if you ever see one of those out there. It's a high grade and it seems the price seems too good to be true on an iconic card. It's probably because it is. You're looking at a card that's probably a grade or 2 lower. So in this case, it ended up being a lower grade, an 8. So this card has finally come home. It is done. It's an 8. We're moving on. All right, next up we have a Ryan Sandberg 1987 Topps Tiffany. I thought this one looked pretty sharp, and the Tiffany's came in a lower print back in 87. They came in a lower print run collector set. So although they still printed a lot of them, it is a little bit more rare, I guess you would say. So 87 was the first year I started collecting cards as a kid. So this card, plus it's a Sandberg card, so it does have a little bit of a personal significance to me. Although this card is not from my original collection. So I picked this up on the secondary market. I thought it looked really sharp and had a slight chance to gem. Most likely going to be a 9. Maybe I'll get lucky. It'll be a 9.5. Let's see. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Gem Mint 10 on the Sandberg Tiffany. That's perfect. Really happy to have that one in a gem. I thought about sending this to PSA. It would definitely have a higher resale value with PSA, but a couple of reasons why I made the decision to send it with SGC. Number one, lower price. Slightly. Not much. Price is probably the lowest factor. Secondary, I didn't think I would get a fair shot with PSA. Based on my experiences, at least in the last few years, they have gotten extremely critical on 80s cards in general. It's almost to a fault, and I don't have the trust that I will get a fair shake at a good looking, gem quality card. So, and frankly, it's for my personal collection. So resale value doesn't have as much of a significance here because I'm not planning on selling this card. So that is why I sent it to SGC rather than PSA. And it looks great. And I'm so happy to have that. In the PC. Move these guys down here a little bit. There we go. All right, next up we have a 1970 Kellogg's Dick Butkus. Lenticular, I guess. It's kind of has that lenticular front but it doesn't like change images like some of the traditional lenticular cards do. I thought this looked pretty good, except for those little nodules that they snap off of on the templates. So that hopefully doesn't impact the grade because those are supposed to be on there, but we'll see what SGC thinks. I think my pre-grade was a near mint plus 8, and it comes back an 8. Yep. Near mint 8. That's kind of what I thought. Pretty well centered. It's a little heavy on the right-hand side, a little heavy on the bottom, but dang, that looks great in that SGC slab. I really like that. Very cool. Also go into the PC. All right. Next up, we have a 1973, maybe? I can't remember. Bart Starr. I thought this one was around a 6. Probably come back in SGC 6. Let's see how it turned out. 1969 Bart Starr comes back a 5. All right. A little lower than I expected. I don't claim to be an expert on vintage grading, though. So, but, solid card of a legend. Moving on. We have a Sonny Jurgensen, Philadelphia. Thought this one looked like about EX Plus 6 as well. Let's see how this one turned out as I drop it on the ground. Oh, it came back a 7. Okay. That is, so one ends up being 1 grade lower than I thought, and one ends up being 1 grade higher than I thought. That's not bad at all. 1967 Philadelphia. Sonny Jurgensen, another NFL legend. All right, so I'm getting quite the variety of grades here today. Oh, that's off the camera. All right, next up we have a rookie of Jimbo Covert, 1984 Topps. I'm just noticing now as I'm looking on the back here, we've got a little fisheye imperfection that I didn't catch when I sent it in. So my hope was that this was well centered enough, had edging, and all the boxes were pretty much checked that I felt were good enough to possibly gem, but at least get a mint 9, possibly an outside chance of a mint plus 9.5. Let's see how it turned out. A 9.5. Excellent. Yeah, I feel like if I would have sent this into PSA, the best case scenario would be a 9. And I'm glad I decided to go with SGC here because I think that's really an accurate grade. And I don't think they would have rounded up at PSA to a 10 on this. So very cool. All right, next up we have my '57 Topps Hank Aaron. This card I know is in poor condition. However, as I mentioned in my pre-grade, that this card was gifted to me by my uncle, and just a sentimental card that I'm happy to have in my personal collection and wanted to have it slabbed up. And I thought it would look really good in the Tuxedo SGC holder. Oh, wow. Okay. A 4. That's not bad, honestly. I think I pre-graded it at a 1.5, but again, when the older you get with the cards, the harder it is for me to judge. I just don't have as much experience. It has a print defect here. All the corners are worn and or dented. So I think a 4 is more than fair. I don't know if any of you guys are vintage graders out there, have more experience. What do you think? You got some scuffed edging here. The centering, is definitely probably 80-20, left to right or right to left. Top to bottom isn't too far off. See those edges there? Back, same thing. A lot of edge issues, a lot of corner and edge issues on this card, but I'm very happy with a 4. That's awesome. Very cool. All right, last but not least, the card that I was the most passionate about as far as getting it wrong. This card I bought on the aftermarket. I mentioned this again in my pre-grade, so I won't spend too much time on it. But this card I definitely felt like was worthy of a gem, if not very, very close to it. And when PSA sent it back as an 8, I was like, no, I really think they missed the mark here. So I'll let SGC give me a second opinion. Here is the near mint 8 grade Field of Dreams 1990 Universal Kevin Costner. These cards are very valuable actually in a high grade. I definitely think this is at least a near mint plus, a mint or a mint plus 995. So let's see how we did. Okay, a 9. I'm happy with that. I feel that's more of a fair grade. One of my favorite sports movies of all time, and plan on keeping this one in the collection. If I have a chance in the future to upgrade it, maybe I'll do so. But I'm satisfied with the 9. I think that's a pretty fair grade on that one. So overall, I think I did pretty well. Most of my grades came back, I think, what I expected. I didn't expect any gems on this order, but I did get the Sandberg. And the Jimbo Covert was a very fair grade. Butt Kiss, of course, the Hank Aaron. So I think I did pretty well. I can't complain, you guys. Check out SGC if you haven't done so already. I think they do a very good job. And, some of these cards that aren't necessarily shiny, I think they look fantastic in the tuxedo holders with SGC. And great service, great turnaround time. So appreciate y'all spending some time with me today. And we'll see you back here real soon. Take care, everybody.